Want to rain down fire? Want to race the ground and heal everyone that's around you? Want to be the character that everybody wants around and everybody fears? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Mage vocation for Dragon Dogmas 2, and we're going to go ahead and cover everything you need to know, and there is going to be one vital decision that you're going to need to make with the Mage that you're not going to have to make with any other character. So it's going to be extremely important that you pay attention to this because it's going to determine whether you want to main a Mage or you want a Mage as your pawn. In addition to that, we're going to break down all the core skills, the weapon skills, and of course, the strength and weaknesses and who I think the Mage actually pairs well with. So with that being said, guys, if you're excited for Dragon Dogmas 2, hit that like button and let's jump right into it. So if you did play the first game, you guys are pretty familiar with this class. Now, there are going to be a couple changes, but unlike any other traditional RPG classes, I do want to make sure you guys understand, if you're new to the series, this is not your typical game where you're able to add stats to a specific character and tailor him your way. You're going to be able to pick a Mage, and it's going to be a Mage, okay? So I do want to make sure you guys keep that in mind. Now, there is going to be a time and point where you're going to be able to kind of enhance your Mage, and this is going to be a very important critical decision you're going to have to make, but we'll talk about that later in the video. Now, the Mage main thing, he is a range class. So if you're deciding to play as him, you got to make sure you keep that in mind. You're not going to be there hugging the enemy. You're actually going to be casting down fireballs, ranging down fire, ranging down ice, all these really cool elements. But in addition to that, one thing that makes him really unique is the ability to be a offensive and defensive character, which provides a ton of support for the entire party. That is what makes him really, really good. Now, one interesting thing to keep in mind is that he will be able to do some really cool stuff, not only for himself, but also for the teammates that are around him. So it's going to be a very interesting character. I kind of want to know what people are going to lean to. Are they going to main a Mage, or are they just going to, use him as a pawn? Now, if you guys remember the first Dragon Dogma, only vocations that had a staff had access to a specific spell that would allow you to become a healer. Now, this made him incredibly valuable to the whole entire party as a starting vocation or also as a pawn, due to the fact that if you want healies, you needed to have one with you. Now, this time around, you will be having the same option, only you're going to have to make a very crucial and important decision. Because as you guys know, and as you progress throughout the game, there's going to come a time where you're going to have to decide if you want to go the advanced sorcerer route, right? So you're going to be able to take your Mage from a regular Mage to an advanced sorcerer. Now, when you make this decision, you're going to lose the Adonai spell, which allows you to heal people. So I want to know for you guys in the comment section down below, are you guys going to stay full Mage, or are you guys going to go ahead and do the advanced sorcerer and take that leap of faith of losing that Adonai spell? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, healing is not the only thing the Mage is going to be kind of standing out on. He's going to be standing out on doing a ton of damage. But one thing that gets me really excited about the Mage is the fact that he's going to be able to boost the damage to the rest of his teammates by casting spells that will increase their speed, will increase their weapon damage by infusing that weapon damage with fire, ice, or lightning enhancements. Now, of course, like a Mage, you're going to want to make sure you keep your distance, because if you get close to an enemy and he hits you, it's going to be pretty much lights out. The reason being is because you could get interrupted as you're casting. So it's going to be very important that when you're playing as a Mage, you keep in mind that you want to make sure you keep your distance at a long range, mid range, because if you guys get caught while casting, the enemy will be able to cancel that one. Now, the great thing about him, it gives him a ton of flexibility, because he could become a very supportive class, or he could become a class that just focuses primarily on dealing damage and allowing other particular characters to shine with the magic he's able to impose, and he's able to rain down fire. What more do you want? Now, the Mage will have a variety of spells to pick from, even some that are, you guys, if you did play the first game, you are going to be pretty familiar with them. But just keep in mind, I want to make sure I reiterate this once again, if you decide to go and advance him to the advanced vocation to the sorcerer, you will lose that Adonai, spell, which is going to take away his healies. All right, just letting you guys know. Now, speaking about spells, let's go ahead and talk about the core skills and how this might tie in perfectly on being able to manage cast times and just seeing how high level skill of a gap you're going to need to actually be able to adapt to play with a mage. So we have the first core skill. This is just going to be for the mage alone. It's Adonai. It's going to allow him to conjure a magic creative sigil that will recover the health of the caster and the allies within contact of him. So this is a very, very powerful skill, and I do hope it has a very short cooldown, because I think this is like the main concept of the mage, and I want to make sure he's using it as much as he possibly can. The next one is called Focus Bolt. This is going to allow him to conjure and condense a magical burst that differs based on the active enhancement. So this is going to be a really cool, like, lightning bolt, really awesome. Another really cool one, guys, which is going to make you feel like Harry Potter. I mean, I could have probably used another reference here. It's called Levitate. And this is going to allow you to manipulate the caster and fly around and, you know, just levitate on the ground. Imagine how sick this is, guys. You just levitate on the ground and start casting away. That just sounds really dope. The next one is called Magic Bolt, which is going to allow you to fire a magic burst that allows you to activate an enhancement to the people who are it's being cast to, and can be casted while moving. This is going to be really awesome, right? Then we have Quick Spell. Now, what Quick Spell is going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to cast faster, because it's going to greatly increase the casting speed and consume stamina while active. So you're going to be able to throw a lot of casts, but you're going to be taking a lot of loss with your stamina. So, you know, min-maxing here is going to be very crucial, especially on the gear. If the gear has stats or whatever we're able to get stamina stats from, it's going to be very crucial here. All right, so now that we know the core skills, we know what we're dealing with, let's talk about weapon skills, because these are going to be extremely important, and this is where we're going to be getting a lot of bang for our buck. So the first one we have is Clarity. This is going to allow you to make and conjure a magic sigil that will allow the characters around you, your pawns or your teammates or allies, that are going to give them the ability to have faster speed. Just make them a lot faster. It's going to speed up the allies within whatever range the the sigil is present. So really, really good time. And this will last as long as the sigil stays active. All right, so the next one we have is Empyrean. What this is going to allow you to do is going to allow you to cast a big holy light orb that's going to deal imminent amount of damage to nearby enemies. The great thing about this is that it stays premonition within the area. So it's going to be a very good AoE casting ability, because the lightning will remain some time even though the attack has finally completed. Really cool for clearing a lot of mobs. Next, we have Fire Boon. Now, this is going to allow you guys pretty much just to set your weapon on fire and set your teammates' weapons on fire. The great thing is that this is going to last as long as you have the cast enabled. So just, you know, have that fire come out. That's so dope, though. The next one we have is Flagration. And what this is going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to unleash a swirling jet of flames straight ahead for a period of time. This one sounds really dope. The flames are going to ignore defense and can pass through multiple targets while you have it active. This is actually really cool, because not only are you going to be able to cast this, but you're going to be able to cast this on the move, which makes it really awesome. And once again, very AoE and very centric when it comes to clearing a lot of ads. The next one we have is Frigor. This is going to allow you to conjure a pillar of ice that lingers for a period of time and can serve as a stepping stone. This is going to be very crazy, because this is going to allow us to get on top of these pesky monsters by casting this, and then us being able to climb on top and just hitting him upside the head with our staff, which makes it really, really cool. Now, one funny thing about this, guys, is after the actual pillar gets destroyed, there's going to be blocks of ice that are going to still remain. And the great thing about this is we might be able to just pick these up and throw them and hit someone upside the head. That's actually pretty dope. Next one we have is Ice Boon. This is going to allow you to pretty much make your weapon into ice. Going to turn it into popsicle. Pretty dope. And it's going to allow you guys to be able to cap this for as long as it persists. Not only will you have your weapon turned into ice, but your allies as well. Next one we have is Levin. And I think this is going to pair very, very good with the Levitate one, because this is going to allow you to cast down pretty much lightning from up above. And you're going to be able to cast unlimited amount of lightning, but it's going to be at the cost of stamina. But this sounds really, really dope. Next up, we have Lightning Boon, which is going to allow you to pretty much unveil your weapon and the weapon of your teammates with lightning, which pretty good. The next one we have is Palladium, and this is going to be one that's going to be very used defensively. I think it's going to be one of the most used ones. What it's going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to conjure a cluster of magic energy that will block an attack up to 3 single times. Now, once the time has settled and the conjure has disappeared, the cluster will also dissipate after time. It will remain there for a little bit while, but it will also dissipate. All right, so now that we know all the cool stuff the Mage is able to do, let's talk about his strength and his weaknesses and why you should consider him or maybe write him off as a pawn or as a main. So, of course, the main strength when it comes to him, he's definitely a healing class. The great thing about him as well is that he's able to not only infuse weapons with different elements, but he's also able to infuse elements and weapons from the other characters. Now, so he will be able to boost himself and boost his teammates with elemental damage. Now, he could also boost the party speed, so that means his stamina won't be used that much, but they will be able to move quicker, which makes it a really good combination with a couple of classes or vocations I'm going to speak of in a little bit. Now, where he lacks is the possibility of while you're casting, you could get interrupted. And this, I feel like it's a big kind of like, oof, man, I don't know, man. I want to play Mage, but it's like, it's one of those like, oh, I don't want to make sure. I want to be able to cast. He's also very vulnerable when it comes to melee range, and being able to not interrupt the cast and being able to get interrupted while casting, so it's a big hit for me. Now, the thing is that the problem here is that the stronger spells, the really powerful ones, the ones that are going to do a ton of damage, these will have a longer casting time. So with this interruption of spells, it kind of puts him in a very bad situation. That's pretty much the main weaknesses that he has in this particular game. Now, deciding whether you want to put him as a pawn or if you want to use him as your main character, I believe the Mage has a very high learning curve. Not only will you be super squishy, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult as you progress throughout the game. But as the game gets, as you get further and further, he is going to become a very OP character due to the fact that he has his HP is not quite there as other characters. I think perfectly he's going to fit very well with the Thief, very well with the Fighter as a supporter class, so as a pawn. But if you decide to bring him along with you, you're going to want to make sure you have someone that's able to absorb a lot of damage while you're casting and healing and while you're infusing weapons. So I think him with the Fighter will fit perfectly. Whether you decide to put him as your main character, I think Fighter's the way to go. If you decide to use him as a pawn, then you could pretty much go with almost everyone. Primarily would probably have to be Thief and would have to be Fighter, as I feel like the Archer kind of falls in this category where he has to keep a distance as well. Now, you guys feel like you want to be more up close and personal? I highly recommend you watch my Fighter guide where I go over everything about the Fighter, or you might want to watch the Thief guide, or you might want to watch the Archer guide to get a better idea of maybe this class is better for you. I hope you guys are finding our Dragon Dogma content informative, helpful. If you are, do me a huge favor, guys. Drop a comment, drop a like. Most importantly, subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications, and I will see you guys on the next one.